Welcome back to 20-Side Adventures. My name is Ryan. This is Summoner 301, where we are going to go through the various feats available to your summoner. We're going to look into paths and trees amongst them where there's good synergies, as well as just general comments on what I think of each of these feats. If you like what we're doing here on the channel, please leave a like and subscribe down below. It's much appreciated. And as always, easiest way to support the channel, leave a comment. I do try to chat with all of you, and I really do enjoy just talking shop about Pathfinder. With no further ado, let's get into Summoner 301. Here we are, Archives of Nethys, all the summoner feats. There's only like 60 in here, so this one's probably going to be a shorter 301 video than most. I also think it's worth pointing out summoner feats, while the class, chassis, and features might be more complex, most of the feats are pretty straightforward. So if you're a newer player that's maybe overwhelmed by how the class works, take some comfort maybe in that the feats are a little more straightforward. So at level 1, you need to remember you get an evolution feat for your Eidolon separate from selecting class feats. So you are looking for those that have the evolution trait on them, and those also will specifically modify your Eidolon rather than giving your summoner character themselves access to an ability. Advanced weaponry is the first, and this basically just adds a trait onto their weapon attack. So if you took maybe the higher dice damage on your Eidolon's primary attack, but you really wanted them to have another trait, you could take this feat to give them that. Dual studies is kind of an interesting one because generally speaking, your Eidolon operates at your proficiency level on skills with their stat array. This, however, gives you a training that your Eidolon doesn't have, and your Eidolon a training that you don't have. These also get a free boost up to expert, so if there's something maybe that you just don't want your character doing, but the Eidolon's going to be really good at, you might be able to play with this and get some use out of it. Energy Heart gives your Eidolon some elemental damage and some resistance. One of its unarmed attacks, so you have to pick one of them, changes its damage type to the chosen type. So it's not additional damage, it just changes from piercing to, say, fire now. Expanded Senses adds low light and dark vision, as well as scent within 30 feet. So if you are looking at having a more robust Eidolon being able to see and detect things for you, this would be a good evolution choice. Extended Boost gives you a new focus spell. So this is a free action focused one. So it is meta magic, which will be remastered into a spell shape. It is a single focus point, and you would use this before you would cast either boost or reinforce Eidolon. You then make a skill check based on the type of magic that your Eidolon grants you. So this is arcane, divine, primal, or occult. You make that roll against a standard DC of your level, though the GM can assign a different DC based on the circumstance. If you critically succeed, your boost lasts for 4 rounds. If you succeed, it lasts for 3, and if you fail, the spell lasts for 1 round, but you don't spend a focus point in casting the spell. So this has to be tacked on again to one of those boosts. Even if you fail, you get the focus point back, so there's really no harm, no foul if you want to be using this, and you're using both boost or reinforce Eidolon on the regular. It is also worth noting boost and reinforce, if you don't remember from the primary video, is a cantrip, so you can cast those as much as you want, and then you have focus points to put these on to get 3 or 4 rounds out of their use to free up that action economy for something else. Glider form is going to let your Eidolon glide and eventually fly, so if having a flying Eidolon is important to you, this is a must take. Meld into Eidolon is if you no longer want to be controlling 2 people, and you want to be primarily focused on your Eidolon, you manifest your Eidolon and you become your Eidolon. You get to drive it like a robot kind of thing as you become one. When you are like this, you use your Eidolon statistics. You can't cast spells. You can't use anything with the tandem trait. So I'm not overall a huge fan of this playstyle, but it's definitely an option for someone who is interested in it out there. Unfettered Eidolon is another focus spell that you can take. It increases your pool by 1, and the spell itself here, anything within 100 feet. So if your Eidolon is at the very edge of your maximum range, you can cast this spell, and they no longer are restricted on how close they have to be to you for the next minute. Alacritous Action is a very simple evolution that gives 10-foot speed bonus to your Eidolon, so you're getting up to 35 feet now. Amphibious form is much like it says. It's going to give you the ability to be underwater, and if they were aquatic already, as we have the amphibious Eidolon you could have taken, taking this evolution allows them to move on land without having to worry about the penalties of not being in water. Magical Understudy is if you want your Eidolon to be a caster. They gain the cast a spell activity as well as 2 cantrips that cast as innate spells. Ranged combatant grants a ranged attack to your Eidolon with 1d4 damage, 30 feet range increments, and it has the magical and propulsive traits. And then if your Eidolon is a celestial, a fiend, or a monitor, it gets their alignment stuff with. So in a remaster setting, this is going to let you have the holy or the unholy if your other unarmed attacks would have it. Reinforced Eidolon is a cantrip, and this adds a +1 bonus to AC and saving throws, plus resistance to all damage equal to half your spell level. Steed form is if you're really wanting to be able to ride your Eidolon on the regular. This takes away the penalty where normally if you're riding your Eidolon, you're going to lose an action to do that, and you'll get your full normal action economy riding on your Eidolon into battle. Perhaps taking the Cavalier as an archetype here could have some interesting possibilities. Bloodletting Claws basically gives you a critical specialization effect on your Eidolon's unarmed attacks that deal slashing or piercing damage. On a critical, they will now also deal 1d6 persistent bleed damage. Defend Summoner is a single action where your Eidolon will block attacks against you. After you use this action, you gain a +2 bonus to AC until the beginning of your next turn. This is essentially Ray Shield for your Summoner, except it's putting your Eidolon in that position to defend you, and you do have to remain within the Eidolon's reach. Dual Energy Heart requires Energy Heart, and this is where you get a second type of damage, and you gain the exact same benefits, except now the damage gains the versatile trait for the second energy type, so you can switch between the two. And now your Eidolon will have resistance to 2 types of energies. Irizoko Tattoo, I've gone over this one on some previous ones. I really do like this feat for many casters if you're leaning into focus spells, and it's just a great way to recover focus spells on the fly. Lifelink Surge is another focus spell where it grants fast healing 4 to your Eidolon, which also means it grants it to you. It only lasts for 4 rounds, so we're realistically talking about 16 hit points. As a level 4 feat, I don't think this one's personally worth it. If it was a cantrip to where you could keep it up potentially, but also taking a focus point on it, a little less keen on it. It does scale up with you, however, so each level it does increase by 2. I just don't think it's enough healing to make it worth the spend. If you're perhaps in a party that doesn't have a cleric or other primary magical healer, it might be a good stopgap, but I think for most builds, it just doesn't deliver enough. Reactive Dismissal, your Eidolon would take damage. You abruptly dismiss your Eidolon to reduce the damage it takes, and that damage reduction is reduced by double your level. So you're getting this one at 4, so you can just make 8 damage go away. This could mean the difference between, staying in the fight or not, so dropping your Eidolon out of the fight could have value. And as you level up, that number gets larger and larger. Though much like the last one, I still am concerned it's just not enough to make the action economy of having to spend 3 actions to get your Eidolon back may not be worth it. Shrink Down is an option to drop the size of your Eidolon. Skilled Partner could be very important if you're leaning into using skills on your Eidolon, because if you want access to skill feats, while your Eidolon shares your proficiency, it does not share access to any skill feats you have, and it requires this feat to grant your Eidolon skill feats. So Titan Wrestler, if you're doing a grappling Eidolon, for example, could be important. So if there are some skill feats necessary for your Eidolon build, this is a great take. Tandem Movement is a tandem feat. It is a single action. You both get to take a move action. In reality, to me, that seems like the same amount of actions as Act Together. You would still have a 2 action available at the end of that. The extra action was used to move. So I'm not really seeing where this is worth taking when you already have Act Together. If I'm missing something on this one, you guys have been really good about picking up on weird nuances with the Summoner that maybe I just haven't considered. So drop those in the comment if there's a reason for Tandem Movement over Act Together in the same action economy space. Vibration Sense is a way to give your Eidolon Tremor Sense, which is a fantastic sense. It's one of my favorites. Bloody Frenzy requires you to have Bloodletting Claws, and this essentially is a rage option for your Eidolon. It gets the benefits of Boost Eidolon, gains temporary hit points, so very much like, I forgot which Eidolon gets it, but when we did the Eidolon video, one of them comes with this feat where they're kind of a ragey character, maybe the Wrath embodiment Eidolon, that sounds right. But this essentially allows you to put this on other Eidolons. Eidolon's Opportunity is a reactive strike for your Eidolon. Eidolon's Wrath gets you the Eidolon's Wrath focus spell, which is a 2-action, 20-foot emanation, 5d6 energy attack, of which you choose the type of energy when you take this feat, and the enemy gets a basic will save, and this heightens per level 2d6, so pretty solid AoE burst damage. I think that one would be worth taking. Master Summoners, if you're interested in a summoner playstyle where it's you, your Eidolon, and you're using a good deal of summon creature spells, this allows you to convert one of your normal spell slots into 2 spell slots specifically for summoning. So you're getting 50% more casting, access to more summoning. And the interesting thing, if you consider this style of play with Act together, you basically get the sustain action to command your summon for free. So a summoner can have 3 pieces on the board with 6 actions per turn, giving you a lot of flexibility and things that can be done on the field. Ostentatious Arrival is a free action that you use if your next action is to spend 3 and manifest your Eidolon. And this basically does a 1d4 fire damage per spell level burst when your Eidolon comes onto the scene. In addition, if you are going into that summoner playstyle, which is unfortunate, these are both level 6, this will also work when you summon creatures. They will burst out doing 1d4 fire damage per 2 levels, and this damage can change depending on if the creature you're summoning has a different damage trait. Phase Out is a 3 action where your Eidolon phases out of reality and is resistant to all damage except force and negative, which would be void, equal to half your level. So fairly decent resistance there. It is not incorporeal, but it can't use strikes or actions that require its full physical form, such as grapple, shove, and trip. And this persists until your Eidolon chooses to return to normal. So maybe if you have the casting focused Eidolon, this could be really good. Overall, basically spending 3 actions to get your Eidolon out and then 3 actions for them to phase out. It is a good amount of damage reduction, but at the same time, I'm worried that it's not very efficient. It's also worth noting this one requires your Eidolon to be a type of phantom. Tandem Strike is a 2 action where both you and your Eidolon make a strike. However, you do not suffer the effects of multiple attack penalty until after both strikes have been made. So if you're focusing on being a ranged or a little bit more of a melee summoner and you and your Eidolon wish to work together, this is a great way to do that. If you are going that summoner build and you are using boost Eidolon a fair amount, consider boost summon, because this will put the effects of your boost Eidolon on both the creature you have summoned as well as your Eidolon. Constricting Hold is a great option if you have gone a wrestling grappling style Eidolon. This is a single action to just get to do damage against a creature that you have grabbed or restrained. This deals bludgeoning damage equal to the Eidolon's level plus its strength, so it's not a huge amount of damage, but it's guaranteed to hit. So on a large multiple attack penalty, or if you just have one single action to burn, this is a good way to just keep the damage up. Energy Resistance requires the Energy Heart, and this changes the benefit of both Energy Heart and Dual Energy Heart from half your level to your full level. So that makes that path very valuable in my opinion. Hulking Size is a good way to just increase the size of your Eidolon permanently if that's something you're interested in. Magical Adept is adding more spells to your Eidolon spell list. So if you are going that casting Eidolon, this is a good one to take. Miniaturize is getting your Eidolon even smaller. So we can go down to tiny on this one. And now remember, this doesn't permanently make them this size. It gives them the option to shrink down. Protective Pose is a 2 action, and you have to be trained in medicine for this one. You and your Eidolon need to be within 30 feet of each other. You and your Eidolon both like strike a pose. I'm envisioning, something like that from both sides. And you put a 30-foot emanation out until the start of your next turn, and creatures within range of either you or your Eidolon gain resistance to your choice of acid, cold, electricity, fire, or sonic, equal to half your level. In addition, any medicine checks targeting a creature within this resistance bubble gain a +1 or a +2 if you're a master in medicine. So this is just a really interesting way to create a bubble to benefit your friends, to let them get healed up, as well as reduce their damage from a big bad guy's big energy attacks potentially. This can be used as part of your tandem action, so you're still getting a good amount of action economy out of this. It's okay. I don't know if it's quite a level 8, but it's interesting, and I always tend to err on the side of liking things that are interesting. Burrowing Form, much like it sounds, it gives your Eidolon a burrowing speed. Merciless Rend. So this one's pretty interesting. These are generally monster feats, which if you're a GM, you'll recognize these from a lot of monster stat blocks, and maybe if you're a player, you've experienced this. But your Eidolon hit the same enemy with 2 consecutive strikes with its secondary attack this turn. So you're not using its primary, you're using the slightly weaker secondary, and instead of taking that third action at -10 and potentially missing, you just get to use Merciless Rend and automatically deal damage as if you had hit them. Protective Bond is next. This is a reaction where you or your Eidolon are in a damaging area effect. You can use this reaction. And this is if you or your Eidolon take different amounts of damage, because again, that's possible. You each have your own separate saves. You take the lower amount. So if you critically succeed and your Eidolon critically fails, you get the benefit of the critical success by spending your reaction. I think this one is a really good take if you're finding this has been cropping up a lot to you and you're both in that area of effect a lot. This, I think, is a really good all-around any summoner build, I think, can take advantage of that one. Pushing Attack. This is another one of those monster abilities that's found its way to your Eidolon. If your Eidolon has the shove trait on one of its attacks, it now gains the push action for that attack. So again, if you're not familiar with running monsters, what this means is they've successfully hit you. they're now going to spend another action and they get a shove attempt. This shove attempt, however, does not count towards multiple attack penalty and is not affected by your multiple attack penalty. So this is a good way to get multiple attacks happening at your Eidolon's best chance of success. Transpose is a quick teleportation where you and your Eidolon switch places. Weighty Impact is the monster ability attached to a trip trait where you get to make a trip attempt free of multiple attack penalty after you successfully hit your opponent. Flexible Transmogrification. This one is basically if you didn't take the construct, but you really like the idea of switching out your evolutionary feat during your daily preparation, well, at level 12, you can attach this to any Eidolon of your choosing. Grasping Limbs. This is, again, that monster ability where now you get to make a grab attempt that is not affected by multiple attack penalty if you have successfully hit them with an attack that has the grapple trait. Link Focus. This is absolutely getting remastered because this was all taken away. This is how you could gain 2 focus points instead of 1. At this level, it is just spend the action refocusing, you get all your focus points back. So that'll definitely be changing out. Summoner's Call. So your Eidolon takes damage from a foe or a hazard. You can use this reaction. So if they're about to just get hammered on with a 3 activity attack, or there's follow-ups and you just want to get your Eidolon out of danger, you can teleport them away and disrupt the enemy's activity. I think that's a great take. Towering Size lets you increase them to huge. Airborne Form, they can now fly. It does require that glider form as previously mentioned. Resilient Shell. So now you're getting a resistant to all physical damage equal to their con modifier. So if you're trying to make a tanky Eidolon, you get those energy resistances. You take this resistant shell and your Eidolon can just be out there shrugging off damage left and right. Share Eidolon Magic. This one's really interesting if you have been building into the casting Eidolon. Your Eidolon shares its spells with you. Now, you don't get a second casting of all of these spells, but you can basically tap all of the innate spells from Magical Adept and Magic Master from yourself with your casting stat, which might be better than your Eidolon's. So there is a case to be made to build into this level 14 feat to just boost the casting of your summoner. Self-repelling Form. This is just a straight +1 bonus to all saving throws against magic. I don't know if a +1 is worth a level 14 feat, though it is to all of your saving throws. I'm just at 14, I think there's cooler things to take. Effortless Concentration. You can maintain a spell with hardly a thought. You immediately gain the effects of a sustain action, allowing you to extend the duration of one of your active spells. So now if you're, again, going that summoner build and you're keeping multiple summons up at a time, maybe you could maintain 2 summons in your Eidolon now and have the action economy for it because you're getting a free sustain with Effortless Concentration, and you can use your Act Together to generate a second concentration. And so now you've got your Eidolon with 2 actions, both your summons with 2 actions. So this is just a really good way to potentially get lots of action economy out of all of these different summoned creatures. Ever Vigilant Senses, you're getting a +2 bonus on your Eidolon's perception, and it can't be flanked except by creatures higher level than it. It can see invisible creatures, though they're still concealed. And when your Eidolon's within 30 feet of an illusion, the GM automatically rolls for your Eidolon to disbelieve it. So that one could be pretty cool. Trample. This is giving your larger sized Eidolon the option to just run around and trample all of its foes. So 3-action Trample, you get to act together. You still have a single action, but it's going to deal bludgeoning damage equal to the damage of its secondary attack against all of the creatures that it can run through, while it takes a stride, but at double its speed. Link Wellspring is pretty much non-existent because this is what lets you refocus for all 3, and we know that's going to go with Remaster. Magical Master is for your Eidolon, where it gains a bevy of lower level spells, so from levels 1 through 7, and these are spell levels, which your Eidolon doesn't currently have an innate spell, your Eidolon can cast one once per day. You can swap these spells at every even level, but your Eidolon can never know more than 1 spell for each spell level 1 through 7. So, and then if you're also giving yourself access to all of these spells, this is just a small little spell book for your summoner to be even more effective with. True Transmogrification is just allowing you to change out even higher level feats on your Eidolon. So these are your level 20 Capstone feats, which, truth be told, are a little lackluster, I think, for level 20. Eternal Boost allows you to become permanently quickened, but you can only use this extra action for Boost Eidolon or Reinforce Eidolon. So you can always keep those cantrips up on them, I guess. I don't know. It's for a level 20, I was hoping for something with a little more meaty. Legendary Summoner. This is allowing you to sacrifice a 9th level spell slot to gain a 10th level spell slot. However, that has to be filled with summoning. It's going to let you get max level summoning, So that one could be worthwhile if you've really leaned into that build on your summoner. And lastly is you can transform to match your Eidolon. So you become your Eidolon, and there's 2 of you. You can't manifest your Eidolon in any usual ways, such as meld with Eidolon, so those are incompatible with this. And you gain your Eidolon statistics. You can't cast spells, and yeah, there's just 2 of your Eidolon on the field, which I guess if you've made a real beefy Eidolon, that could be pretty cool. Just again, for level 20, this one felt really lackluster. And that's it for the feats. Summoner is really straightforward. Find out what you want your Eidolon to do, pick the feats that let you do it. That's it. I mean, there isn't just a whole lot else to it. I think going a full summoner, getting all the critters on the field could be a really cool way to do it. And going through all of these feats, I don't get meld into Eidolon. So if anyone has a really good case for that particular feat, because there's like nothing successively that really leans into it. And yeah, I just, I don't see it. It seems to dumb down some of the tactics. It doesn't have a whole lot of benefit. Maybe if you've built a super robust Eidolon, it might just be simpler to just tear through all the monsters as your Eidolon. And it does reduce the potential of getting hit twice on the field, I suppose. But I don't understand meld with Eidolon. So if you have a good case for it, I would love to hear it in the comments down below. As always, that is the easiest way to support the channel. I have had a great time talking with you guys through this entire Summoner series. I think I've had the most engagement on any of my videos through these. So thanks to all of you for that. It's been a blast. If you like what we're doing here on the channel, at time of recording, I think I'm at like 998 subs. Really would love to hit that 1,000 mark with this video. So if you haven't subbed yet, click that button down below. And I'm going to wish you guys a fantastic time on your 20-side adventures. We'll catch you next time.